All right, good morning, everybody. We got a lot of things going on, so first we'll review the homework. Then we're going to go into some new material. We're going to kind of finish out Chapter 2. Chapter 2, we're going to talk about histograms today. You'll see there's a take-home available. I told you guys there would be a take-home. It's available on Blackboard. It's not due till next Thursday. I think it's the 15th. I think that's what next Thursday is. We'll go over that a little bit. And then you also have your in-class Excel quiz, right? You guys are familiar with that. So let's cover the homework first. Let's get that out of the way. Make sure we understand that. So we were talking about what do we do when we are comparing two sets of nominal data. When we say like we're going to compare, I don't know, gender and major, or we want to compare like religion affiliation and I don't know, the state you live in. Well, what we start with when we do that is something called a crosstab or contingency table. And then from there, we can go to multiple things. And one of those things is a multiple bar chart. So the book doesn't do a great job with this, so we kind of use some made-up exercises. And I think I had you guys do crosstab of these various things. We did one in class. Probably the best one for us to do would be this one, I guess, right? Degree and work status. Is that a good one? Everybody do that together? Yes? Okay. So I'm going to grab, let's see, I'm going to go to Book Excel Files, Course Text Excel Files by Chapter, GSS, and I'll do the 2012 one. Some of you may have done the 2002 one, but it's the same concept, just different data. And the two things I'm looking at are work status and degree, I believe, right? Column R, where's work status? Column Y, right? Those are the two columns I want to crosstab. So let's first figure out what those things mean. So if I go to the code book, I'll just go to the most recent code book. And we'll figure out, let's see, degree. Okay, so 0 means left high school, 1 is high school graduate, 2 is junior college, 3 is bachelor's, and 4 is graduate degree. And work status is right below, so we have that available. So here's our data. Now we want to build a cross-tabulation table as a first step. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to highlight all my data, A through, a lot of data, A through BS. I'm going to say insert. God bless you, Brad. I'm going to click OK. And we have the start of our pivot table. I can do a lot of things with this, but right now I want to look at the relationship between degree and work status. So I'm going to find, let's see, the first one I want to find is, let's do, probably doesn't matter, but I'm going to drag degree down to the rows, and I'm going to drag work status to the column. So we're trying to build this out. You know what, I'm going to switch those. So I'm going to drag degree up here and work status down there. Usually I like the thing that's longer, that has more options to be on the rows just because of presentation, but it doesn't have to be. That's what I'm going to do in this case. And now I want to count the number in those occurrences. So it doesn't really matter what I drag to the values area because I'm just counting it. So I'm going to drag work status down there again. Okay, and it's counting those things. Now I would want to, and I'm going to, because it's in a separate thing, and I don't want to keep flipping between Word and Excel, I'm going to copy this down just so I have it in one place, or paste it down. And let's see, so one is full-time. I'm going to abbreviate. 2 is part-time. 3 is temp. 4 is unemployed. 5 is retired. 6 is school. 7 is keeping house. 8 is other. And up here we have, let's call this no high school,
else we have? Junior college, bachelor's degree, and graduate degree. Okay, so let's make that a little, I'm gonna make it a little nicer. I'll go to design. Fine. Maybe highlight, center that stuff. And I want to know if there is a relationship between the level of education that you get and your status. It's kind of hard to tell with these raw numbers, right? It's kind of hard to see this. In this survey, we have 1,973 people. 912 of them are full-time, 226 are part-time, 40 are temporary. And the same thing, high school graduates only, we have 976, 151. So how do you want to present this so we can see, okay, does your education, the amount of education received, impact your work status? How do you want to present that? What would you recommend? Because this doesn't tell the picture as well as we can. It doesn't tell the story as well as we can. What would you recommend? What do you think, Ben? What would you do?
I used to say that. Multiple boards.
Okay. I think that would be good. But before I get there, I want to change my pivot table, right? These raw counts are kind of difficult for me to see. I mean, they're just a bunch of numbers. I want to put them in a scale that, you know, everything's in the same scale, right? So what could I do? What could I do to put them in the same scale? Yeah, I'm going to change them into percentages. Now, we got to think about, do I want to show it as percentages of column totals or percentages of row totals? And Sophia, what do you think, Sophia? Okay, I would do the same thing, right? And why? Why, Sophia? I think that's the best way to show this why.
Because it's kind of how they're categorized.
Yeah, and we can kind of say, like, okay, of the 288 that didn't have any high school, that didn't finish high school, where did they end up? Well, a lot of them ended up here, 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 and we can categorize that across the whole deal. So how do I do that? I can right-click on any field, go to Value Field Settings, and I'm going to say Show Value As, and instead of no calculation, I agree with Sophia, I'm going to do percentage of column total. So if you have no high school, right, what percentage of those people are working full-time? No high school, what percentage of those people are working full-time? Which I guess that's where you want to be, right? I think your parents want you to be there. That's why they send you to college. That's where most of us want to be. Retired is nice, I guess. I probably will never retire. But full-time is what we want to look at, right? So of the people that just have no high school, what percentage of them are working full-time? Mark? About 26%. High school, it goes up to 43%. Junior college, it goes up to 52%. Bachelor's degree, it goes up to 61%. Kind of goes down for graduate degree. I'm not sure exactly why. It looks like a lot more of those are older, so more of them are retired, right? That's why they're not working full-time because they're retired. Unemployed, that's important, right? Because unemployed is what you don't want to be, right? Your parents don't want you to be unemployed. If we look at no high school, it looks like only 3.82%, high school 7.17%, so bachelor's degree only 2.27%. So this makes an argument for what? This relationship, this makes an argument for what? That what helps you become full-time employed? What helps you not be unemployed? Education, right? The higher level of education you obtain, the less likely you are to be unemployed. That's a good thing, right? That's why you're investing 4 years of your life, Brad, and a lot of opportunity cost, right? Because you say, well, geez, the odds, the stats are in my favor, right? That I'm less likely to be poor, I'm more likely to be employed, I'm more likely to have health coverage.
all those good things. Okay, that's why you guys come to college. Now, I would agree with Evan. That's good, right? That shows me my data, and that's presentable in its own right. But I may want to see it visually. And if I want to see it visually, I may tie this thing to a pivot chart of this thing. Okay. I'd probably want to filter out the blank. Let me filter out the blanks. That would really muck up my chart a little bit. So let me filter out the blanks here. Filter out the blanks. Okay. And we can kind of see, that same relationship. And actually, I would probably do what here? I would probably, just looking at this, it shows the status and where they come from. I would probably, with this, switch the row and the column so I can see by degree where people ended up, right? I'd rather see by degree where people ended up, right? So, I'll probably have to change my data as well. You guys get this? Could do this analysis? Yes? Did you get any questions? So, go ahead, Alexa.
Okay, so what if we would have had degree under like the legend and the work style of the axis? Would that have been anything? Like, I don't understand. You want the chart longer, so you just play around with it to see what sizes.
I want you to tell the story, whatever the story is.
Okay, so if we would have flipped them, would that have been right or would that have been wrong?
If you could, when you present that, if you can write a sentence to say, this is what it's showing, then it's right.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like we are trying to tell a story. And if you say, I can look at it and logically tell that story, then that's right.
Okay, so it really doesn't matter if you have, like, under the pivot table, which one goes under which, just as long as you have the correct data there.
Right, it doesn't really matter. I mean, this one, I think the best way to present it, though, is this, because I think you can say, like, well, of the people, if you think about it, that's kind of how we're talking about. Of the people that didn't have a high school degree, this is where they ended up. Of the people that have, if we've done it the other way, we were saying, of the people that are full-time, what kind of degree do they have? And I don't know, I think this tells that story better.
Okay.
I think that this tells that story
So
better.
as long as we explain it.
Yeah, as long as you can say, and that's what we're thinking of, we're trying to communicate, we're trying to take the data, create information, so that we can inform someone. That's what this whole damn course is about. Okay? Questions on that? All right, let's move on then. Let's go to section 2.2. And I kind of want to set the, where we're at in this course. Okay, so the first thing we did was said, what is statistics? Statistics is a way to get information from data. And then we said, let's understand what data is. And we talked about 3 types of data. We talked about interval, nominal, and ordinal, which were kind of together, but ordinal has a ranking. And then we said there can also be time series data. And we started learning techniques to present that data based on the type of data. If we had nominal data, one nominal variable, how do we present that? That was the first thing we learned. If we have one nominal variable, how do we present that? Jonathan, how do we present that? One nominal variable.
Bar chart.
Very good. Bar chart and pie chart. That was the technique we learned. Very good. If we had interval data and it was over time, how do we present that? Roger, do you remember? Interval data over time, time series data, we presented as a line chart. Very good. And we said, what if we have 2 interval variables and we want to see if there's a relationship between those 2 interval variables, like a positive or a negative or no relationship? Eric, what do we present it as? Scatter plot. Very good. Last thing we did was said, what if we have 2 nominal variables and we want to see if there's a relationship? We did a crosstab table and a multiple bar chart. The only thing we really haven't done yet is what if we only have one interval variable and we want to present that? Interval meaning a numeric variable. Well, it kind of is more difficult than the others because, when we present a chart, we like to group things together. Like everything's in this one bar, everything's in this one slice. When we have interval data, we kind of have to do that grouping ourselves. So we're going to learn to do something called a histogram. Okay, so let's look at an example and then we'll go from there. It says, as part of a larger study, A long-distance company wanted to acquire info about the monthly bills of new subscribers in the first month after signing with the company. The company's marketing manager conducted a survey of 200 new residential subscribers and recorded the first month's bill. And he planned to present his findings to senior executive. What information can be extracted from these data? So we want to get this in a format like this. This is what a histogram looks like. A histogram kind of looks like what other chart that we've already worked with? Kind of looks like a bar chart, does it not? And like the bar chart, the height of the bar represents frequency. So this is, the height of the bar represents frequency. Unlike the bar chart, where the bar itself represented like a category, in this case, the bar itself, the width of the bar itself, represents what we call an interval. So all of the bills that are 0 to 15 are in this first interval. All the bills that are 15 to 30 are in this second interval. These are called classes or intervals. So we have to, as the statistician, we have to decide what those classes are. Okay? We have to decide how we're going to group that. And there's not, just like presenting data, there's not one right way and one wrong way. I'm going to show you the tool we're going to use to do that. So there's a couple steps in this process. And the first step is, let's get the data. So this data for these bills are in the file XM02-02. So let's go to Blackboard. Let's go to Book Excel Files. Where's Book Excel Files? Book Excel Files. Course Text Excel Files by Chapter, Chapter 2. And I'm going to go to XM02-02. And I'm going to open that up. And while I'm in there, might as well convert it to the most recent version. And we have 200 bills in here. All right. You guys have the data? You found it? Yes? Okay. Our first step, because we're trying to determine how wide to make our histogram bars. That's what we're doing right now. Our first step is we need to figure out the range of the data, like where it starts and where it ends. What's the smallest value and what's the highest value? Like many things in Excel, there's many ways to do this. Give me one way I can find the high and the low. It's one way I can find the high and the low. What do you think? Rachel? I could look through it and find the lowest value, look through it and find the highest number, but that is an incredible waste of my very valuable time. So instead of filtering it, we call that sorting it, okay? So let's do that. That's very good. Let's go to, click on column A. And over on the Home tab, go to the right and you see Sort. You see Sort Filter. And we're going to sort smallest to largest. And what the heck, I'm going to sort largest to smallest. So, we see the low, the min is 0, and the max is 119.63. So the range is 119.63. So I go from 0 to 119.63. You guys with me? The other way I can do that is in Excel, there's a nice little function, crazily enough, if I want to find the maximum value of a series of numbers, that function is max. So if I say equal max A2 to A201, it returns the maximum value, which is 119.63. So equal max will do that for me. Okay. Crazily enough, oops, there is also a function for the low. and then is equal min. A2 to A201, and it tells me 0. So no matter how you do it, find the range of that data. It's 0 to 119.63. That's where the data resides. Now I want to cut it up, right? I want to figure out how to cut up this data in terms of classes. Okay, now, so what I need to know is how many classes to cut this data into. How many different bars do I want to represent? Well, there's a little table, a chart that you don't have to memorize that is in your book. I think it's on like page 30 or something like that, but it's also up here on the slides right now. And it tells you, it gives you a rule of thumb on about how many classes you should have based on the number of data points that you have. So we have how many observations, how many data points do we have in this data set? We have, how many bills do we have here? 200. So it's telling me we should have somewhere, let's see, 50 to 200, it's telling me, I don't know, 7 to 9 classes. And 200 to 500, it's saying somewhere between 9 and 10 classes. So it's telling me you should divide this data up into either 7, 8, 9, or 10 classes. Okay, that's what it's telling me. It says around 7 to 10 classes. So let's divide that up. So we're going to take that range and we're going to divide it by 119.63. If we cut it up in 7 equal slices, okay, 7 equal slices, 119.63 divided by 7 gives me 17.09. So that means we cut it up and everything would be 17.09. Does that make sense? If we take 119.63 divided by 8, it comes up to 14.95. If we take 119.63 divided by 9, it comes up to 13.29. If we take and divide by 10, we get 11.96. Now, I probably wouldn't use my calculator. In real life, what I'd probably do, and this is probably what you should do, is let's just do 7, 8, 9, 10. And I would do this in Excel, and I would say take equal C2 divided by E2. And because I'm going to copy this down, and I always want to take that range and divide it by either 7, 8, 9, or 10, I'd make Excel do that math for me because I really don't want to use a calculator to do that. And I would come up with those same values. Okay, so that's how I would do this a lot quicker. So this is a recommendation for how big our classes should be. If we take that range, 0 to 119.63, and break it up 7 ways, 8 ways, 9 ways, 10 ways, this is the values, like how the class would be 17.09, 14.95. So how big should I make my classes? Mark, I'm going to pick one. Which of those do you like the best, Mark? How many classes would you make? How big would you make each class, Mark? You'd go with what, 17.09? All right, Mark, I want you to do something for me. I want you to count to 100 by 17.09. Go. You gotta try for me, Mark. Go ahead, JR. 17.09. You're wrong with number 1. Go ahead. Go again. All right. Yeah, very good. 51.27. 68 point. Yeah, it is hard, right? Okay. So how about that? Would that be easier for you, JR? Okay. Now think about this. This is a guidance, right? But we're not a slave to it. So I think counting by 17.09 is very hard as well, right? So if we look at that, that's just a recommendation. What would you guys pick? Not 17.09, not 14.95, not 13.29, but what? Yeah, but would you pick 18 or would you pick 17? I wouldn't pick pick 17, count by 17. You can do it a little easier, right, JR? But it's still a pain in the butt. What in that range is pretty easy to count by, because our minds think that way. 10 would give us, that would give us a lot more classes. I'd be fine with 10, but what's in that range? 15, isn't 15 easier? Don't we think in 5s and 10s? Aren't we trained our whole life to think in 5s and 10s? I would do 15, 30, 45, 60. Keep going, JR. 60, 15. Very good. And we're done because the highest we need to get to is 119.63. So he's exactly right, okay? So what we're going to do, okay, is we are picking our classes, and we're going to enter those classes into Excel, and we're going to enter what we call the cut points, the high points. Exactly what JR mentioned. He said, I would go 15, I would go 30, I would go 45. And you know what? I don't want to keep doing that myself. So if I highlight that and drag down, Excel, being Excel, recognizes, hey, you got a pattern going here. You're keeping add 15. So let me do that for you. And I'm going to let him do that for me, or her. And we get to 120. Okay, so those are my classes. I wouldn't go by 13.09. I wouldn't go by 17.09. I would go by something that makes sense. Now, if you did 12, that's not wrong, okay? If you did 10, that's not wrong. You're going to have more classes, but it's not wrong, right? If you go by 17.09, I would say that's pretty wrong. That's not good, right? So pick something that is going to be easy for the person that does this to interpret. All right? So we have the data, and now we have decided, that's the second, we have decided how many classes we want. Now we want to build the histogram. So I want you guys to go to data, and do you guys have a blank area over here? All right. So this is a one-time thing, but I need you to pay attention. If I go to File, and then I go down to Options, and under Options, there's something called Add-ins, okay? Add-ins are features of Excel that are part of Excel but aren't turned on during original install because they take up some memory. And 99% of the population doesn't use them. So they say, why install them for everyone when 99% of the population doesn't use them? Well, welcome to the 1%. You're going to use them. So if you click on Go down here at the bottom, there are 4 check boxes. I want you to turn on the top 2 and Solver. We probably won't use Solver, and we're probably not going to use Euro currency tools, but if you want to turn it on, you can. But I want you to turn on Analysis Toolpack VBA, and the Solver add-in, and click OK. And it should, if you have a legal copy of Office, it should install it for you. Okay, you only have to do this one time only. You turn it on, you say, hey, I'm now part of the 1%. I'm going to use these features, so please load them for me. So now every time they should be there for you. Okay, so once it's done, you're done. So now under the Data tab, you guys should have an analysis group. Do you guys have an analysis group? And under that analysis group, there's the data analysis tool. I want you to click on the data analysis tool. Now there's all kinds of great data analysis tools in here. We are going today to utilize something called the histogram. So go down to the histogram. You see histogram? Click OK. It needs to know a few things. The first thing it needs to know is, where is my data? Where is the raw data? That's the input range. So I'm going to select a little spreadsheet, and I'm going to highlight A1 the whole way down to A201. That's where my raw data is. Excel calls classes bins. And I design this. I'm the one designing the bins. And it says, how would you like these chopped up? And we came to the conclusion we want it chopped up by every 15. And we put that information in B1 through B9. So the raw data is input range, bin range is how I want it broken up. Now, this box right here, it's very important that I check this box because I selected A1 to A201 and B1 to B9. So we told it about these labels. I need to tell Excel, hey, that first row is labels, so it doesn't think it's a number, because it's gonna, if it thinks it's a number, it's not gonna be able to deal with classes as a number, and it's gonna crap the bed and it won't know what to do. So input range A1, A201, B1, B9, check the labels box. You guys with me? Last thing, it says that's our input. Our output, we want it on a new worksheet ply, that's probably already selected. And we want chart output. So select the chart output. And then click OK. Jonathan.
Mine says histogram having trouble with the offset input output reference. I pressed that.
Did you check labels? That labels box?
Bin range of
Good luck. I reported a few. You want to watch this on the bus, you know?
Oh, yeah.
Gather some teammates. Yeah, you got F9 selected in that range, so I think that would do. All right. So I have a histogram, right? Now, what did you notice about the histogram that I showed you in the slides versus this histogram? What's the difference between the one I said we want to create and the one we just created? What do you notice about the difference between those two things? What do you notice? Go ahead, Rachel. All right. With a histogram, we don't want any spaces. So luckily, under quick layout, the 8th layout takes away those gaps for me. You guys see? So under design, quick layout, the 8th one takes away those spaces for me. Whoops, I thought it did. Yeah. What else? And we can fix the title, we can fix the axes. You guys know how to do that, yes, right? And we can put data labels on it. You guys know how to do that. We've done that before. How about that more deal over there? What's the deal with that? We don't want more, right? The more nothing. There's nothing there. So what I want to do is I want to right-click on the original table on row 10 that has that more in it, and I want to delete it. So if I delete it from my table, it'll delete it from my chart. This histogram represents that data. Read this histogram for me. Interpret this histogram for me. Where are most of the bills at? Where are most of the bills at?
15.
Many of them are in the 30 to 15 range, right? Not too many in the middle, some at the end, but right, most are in the beginning. Yes? Now, when we create a histogram, there are ways we interpret histograms, and I want to go through those ways. Okay, so one attribute of a histogram that we look for is, does the histogram exhibit symmetry? You guys know what symmetry is, right? Symmetry is, if you put a line down the middle, does it look the same on both sides?
Now, for us to say a histogram is symmetrical, it doesn't have to be perfectly symmetrical. It just has to be generally symmetrical. So these are all perfectly symmetrical, but it wouldn't have to be for us to call it symmetrical. This one's symmetrical, this one's symmetrical, this one's symmetrical. Like, I say I am symmetrical, right? I have 2 arms, 2 legs, and but I'm not. I have some issues, right? My nose is crooked. My ears, I have a freakism, like I have an earlobe that's connected, an earlobe not connected. So, like most people either have both, or I have like one of each, which is crazy. I just wear a thing. So I'm a freak. I'll admit, I'm a freak. So to call it symmetrical, it doesn't have to be perfectly symmetrical. The second thing is we want to talk about how it's skewed. Like, if most of the observations are toward the front, we call that positively skewed. If most of the observations are toward the back, we call that negatively skewed. So if it looks like it's going down steps, that's positively skewed. If it looks like it's going up steps, that's negatively skewed. So these are characteristics that I want you to interpret. Okay. We also want to talk about a histogram's modality. Okay. Modality, the modal class is the class with the most observations. So the highest peak is the modal class. A histogram can be unimodal, like this one, like it has one clear peak, right? This is unimodal, has one clear peak. Or it can be bimodal. This one would be bimodal, 2 peaks. Now you might say, well, that peak isn't as big as that peak, but we can clearly see that it goes up, it peaks, it goes down, peaks again, and goes back down. So even though these aren't both the same size, we would call it bimodal, right? So we want to interpret its symmetry, its skewness, and its modality, okay, are the 3 things we want to look at first. Finally, the last one is we may uncover histograms that look like this. This is a very, very special histogram. It is called the bell-shaped histogram. Why is it special? It's symmetrical, it's unimodal, and it's bell-shaped. Where have we seen this, Tony? Where do you see this, Tony? It is what? It is the normal distribution. What is the normal distribution, Tony? You know what it is, though, right? It is the most famous distribution of all. It is the bell-shaped or the normal distribution. Why is it famous? Why? Do you know, Tony, why is it famous? What follows the normal distribution? So many things that occur in the natural world follow the normal distribution. We are part of nature. If I were to do a histogram of adult male height, what would that look like? Well, there'd be a bunch of dudes right here in the middle that are about 5'10", right? There's fewer that are 6 foot. There's even fewer that are, how tall are you, Tony? There are very few that are 6'6", right? There are very few that are 4 feet 5, right? So think about it. Many things that occur in the natural world follow this distribution. Have you guys ever heard of, like, if I grade on a curve? You ever hear of grade on a curve? You know where that comes from? If I graded on a true curve, what that would mean is that most of you would get C's, okay? That would be the middle, right? There'd be a couple with A's and a couple with F's. If I graded on a true curve, a true natural curve, you guys this would be the hardest class at the university campus, right? It would be the hardest class because most of you would get C's. Okay, so this is a very, very special histogram. You'll see it a lot. Anytime you're dealing with things that occur in nature, including us, IQ, height, weight, how long it takes us to do something, it occurs according to this distribution. Questions on that, on the histogram? Here's what I'd like you to do then. I would like you for homework for Tuesday to create some of your own histograms and interpret them. I would like you to do, let me see, not all of those, let's do a few of those. Let's do 6, you don't have to do anything by hand, 6, 16, and 18. 6, 16, and 18. Do 6, 16, and 18, okay, for homework. 6, 16, and 18. That's histogram. You're going to go through this method to figure out how big the classes are. You're going to make your classes, and then you're going to create your histogram. Questions? You guys good with that? It is quiz time. You guys got, what are we here till? 10:45, right? Right?
Yes.
So you guys will have 35 minutes. So open up your laptops.
We can do that.
You can leave right after you're done. Evan,
So,
back to what? Yeah.
So there was one that we had to.
With the histogram? Okay, yeah, we're going to talk about its skewness. Is it positively or negatively skewed? Its symmetry. And its modality. Very good. All right. What I would like you guys to do is in Blackboard, I want you to go to In-Class Excel Exam. It's on the left navigation. And the folder up top says Quiz 1, 9/8/2016. And then click on In-Class Quiz so it takes you into the assignment. This is worth 15 points. And I want you to do everything in a Word document, just like we did with that sample. Part 1 is very much like the Part 1 that you guys saw in the sample, right? Part 2 is not, and I guess I shouldn't tell you this, but Part 2 is not a line chart. It is a scatter diagram. Okay, so don't, kill yourself trying to make a line chart when it's really a scatter diagram type of data. So, questions? Go for it. Very good question.
It's not regarding this.
Oh, okay.
It's like from before. I didn't want to ask it about your reflection.
Please ask. Okay, you gotta highlight, you gotta give it a range, so get rid of what you did there. Get rid of all this, delete that. Highlight 5 and 10, so select that. And both of them?
Yes.
Both, okay, now go to the,
Okay.
now drag, yeah, see that? So you select the
Select
pattern.
the whole range,
And then drag down, yeah.
Cool.
Got it?
Yeah, I got it now.
Oh, yes. There's a take-home assignment as well that's due next Thursday, a week from today. It's under Assignments Excel Projects, and it's called Take-Home Assignment 1, Fall 2016. It has the due date. There's a little video in that folder of me explaining it, so you can watch that video at your leisure as well. You have a whole week to do that, so you don't necessarily have to get on that right now, but it's due next Thursday, so just to let you know that that's available, okay?